On today's edition of Weather to Watch, we have a pretty good area of severe storms possible tomorrow, but there's a lot of snow on the map too, and warm temperatures. In fact, it's pretty active to finish out the month of February, and we'll talk all about it. Hello, I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. Here's a visible satellite loop over the lower 48 this afternoon. It shows a big, what we call a dry slot of air coming in behind the latest low, which is developing right here. You can clearly see the swirl there. But something's brewing out here. We see a lot of cloud motion off the California coast. Look at those cirrus clouds right there north of Los Angeles, right here. Look how fast they're moving. So there's a lot of energy coming into the plains. Same with this little area right here. And so we're going to talk all about that here in just a second. At the 500 millibar level, we have one sort of closed off system, which is technically defined as a short wave, but we have another one kind of coming into the Four Corners region, and that's what's going to help to develop a brand new area of low pressure. As a matter of fact, at the surface, we do have one low pressure area up in Minnesota and kind of a fledgling one kind of forming out there over Utah and Wyoming and Colorado, and that's the one that we're going to focus on next. Well, here's the one low that was over Minnesota. It's kind of stretching out a little bit, moving off over Lake Superior over the next 48 hours. Then here's the new low developing and deepening over northern Missouri, tracking like this over to northern Illinois. Eventually, it's going to back up this way and occlude. And if you probably already noticed, this cyclogenesis has, as is typical this time of year, a spring and a winter side to it. So if the loop starts again, there's the departing low. And then this new one has some storms that are going to be developing right here, and we'll focus our attention on that actually right after I show you this loop again. So some thunderstorms are going to be forming. Watch how they kind of blossom right here through Illinois and Indiana. And then meanwhile, on the backside of this low, we got some snow. Des Moines getting up to around La Crosse possibly. Madison, Wisconsin could get in on some snow as well. But let's go back to the spring side of this and see what kind of severe storm threat we have. The Storm Prediction Center has issued their severe weather outlook for Thursday. It's a level 2 out of 5 for much of central and southern Illinois. Good chunk about the southern two-thirds of Indiana, parts of Ohio and Kentucky. This includes some pretty big cities like Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Louisville, also Springfield, Illinois, maybe a little bit in St. Louis. At least the genesis of the storm seems to be maybe just east of town there. And this is all through tomorrow afternoon. Some of this could fire as early as around noon tomorrow. There is a tornado threat with this. And remember the cyclogenesis I showed you? So that low is actually providing some good low-level turning of the wind, meaning when the low deepens, the winds want to blow toward the center of it. So it tends to force the surface winds to come a little bit more out of the south or southeast than they normally would. And that helps tornadoes. So there's a 5% risk kind of embedded in that area that is under the slight risk, or the 2 out of 5, and a lesser risk. So 5% means 5% chance of a tornado within a 25-mile radius of any point you pick, including your town. As a CSU learning model does show an almost exact match with the tornado probabilities for tomorrow. Also at that core, there's some hail possibilities as well. And the wind might crank up once the thunderstorms get developed into an actual squall line. That's what's indicated by that little epicenter there in southern Indiana. As I said, there's a snow end to this particular low, and actually there's snow all over the place. Let's take a look. Well, here's a compilation of all the National Weather Service offices and the snow forecast, a kind of consensus, I guess you could say. Still some snow in New England. The yellow indicates it could be a half foot. The UP of Michigan, always getting pounded with snow one way or another, either lake effect or a little clipper system, so they're up there around 8 to 12 inches. Then this is the back end of that low that I show you developing up through, northern Missouri and Illinois. Then we have a whole slew of mountain snow. They could really use this out in Utah and Colorado. River levels are low. Sierra Nevada getting a lot of snow, even up into Oregon. So that's good news. There's a slew of winter weather warnings and advisories. There's a winter weather advisory for a sliver of New York State, the UP and the northern part of the LP of Michigan, and also winter storm warnings and advisories there. The northern plains, Once again, we have a winter weather advisory in anticipation of that low developing. We already have winter storm warnings in effect through parts of Nebraska, and then another little system in North Dakota is producing some winter storm warnings up around the arrowhead of Minnesota, through parts of Wyoming. It's all over the place. And then we go out west, and of course we have winter storm warnings for all that Sierra Nevada snow, and again through some of the higher elevations of Utah. Winter storm warnings as well. If I want to zoom in on that same cyclogenesis system, and I'll show you the HRRR, it's actually producing half-foot totals or a little bit more in a swath from just north of Omaha through Des Moines and getting up to around Madison, Wisconsin. So we'll see if that comes to pass. That's a little higher than the National Weather Service consensus on this particular storm. We'll see how that develops. Meanwhile, again, the Sierra Nevada, and even though there are points, cities here with snow totals, just read the scale. So when you see that color, it looks kind of like a pinkish orange. That's almost 3, maybe 3 feet of snow, maybe a little bit more in those areas. And while we're on the subject of snow, I did want to point out that eventually low pressure is going to sit around here Sunday and Monday, and there's a heavy snow possibility in this area. Maybe kind of hard to see, a slightly different shade of green, but it includes parts of Maryland, all of Delaware, most of New Jersey, Long Island, maybe getting up to Boston, maybe not quite that far north. This is also a pretty good wind hazard, as well as a pretty deep low develops over that region. Let's take a look at the pattern change. The new EPS weeklies are out. This was run on Monday night. This is Wednesday, and it shows basically a continuation of a tendency to have troughing at the 500 millibar level. So the lines are dipping down like this, and the purple indicates the values are below what they're anomalous and a little bit below what you might expect. Meanwhile, Big Blue Ridge sitting over the Great Lakes and down into Texas. Temperature effects are predictable, so you always see a maximum there of values of high above normal temperatures where a ridge is concerned, and where there's troughing, it tends to be a little bit colder. But let's take a look at the details of these temperatures. So on Thursday, the country divided almost in half, very much above normal temperatures indicated by the reddish colors here, including 60 in Chicago, and also 60 in Pittsburgh, pretty warm for them, 71 in St. Louis and in Springfield, Missouri, 76 in Little Rock, so pretty high. But meanwhile, in northern Montana, I'm not sure what city, I think that's Glasgow, or not Billings, I don't think. That's 9 for a high on Thursday. That'd be tomorrow. I'm recording this on Wednesday. And then on Saturday, things spread out. The above normal temperatures are in the southern plains now, but anything yellow is above normal. But things do cool down substantially here as the next cold front moves in behind that low. The star indicates the coldest high temperature on the map, and this the blue one, and the red one indicates the warmest. So you can kind of see the below normal temperatures are beginning to take over a lot more ground. This activity shifts eastward by Monday. And remember I said there was cyclogenesis due here. So the temperatures here are supportive of snow. And very chilly across the eastern U.S. and moderating again out west. The general consensus for the period after this, so beginning the day after that map I just showed you, Tuesday through Saturday, has again warming temperatures in the central plains, much of this eastern U.S., maybe neutral, but still pretty warm in most areas. And then finally, we'll take a look at 2 weeks out. So we have snow hazards. Again, the period we're talking about is 2 weeks. So we're 26th through the 4th of March. So we have, again, a snow hazard showing up in Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. This is indicative of a low pressure center, or maybe more than one, that'll be traveling through this area. And then this indicates the backlash of these systems here. And I'll show you the rain forecast in a minute. But there's also a snow hazard out west with a moderate risk of heavy snow through the mountains of Montana and Idaho and in the Cascades. Now, if we change our attention to rain, again, this is what I wanted to show you. Remember, the snow is up here and the rain's down here. So this is a very active, vigorous jet stream here that's going to be developing with probably low pressure areas moving along it. That's what's going to enhance the rainfall totals for the Ohio Valley. That's a moderate risk for that same time period. And there's also a western component to this. Remember, there were snows here, and where it's warmer, there's going to be a pretty moderate risk of a rain hazard through the coastal areas of Oregon and Washington, excluding the mountain areas. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.